rock and roll, everybody. Here we go. Let's do the claps. That's 3, 2, 1, clap. All right. I love how I say clap and then it just messes it up. That seemed fine. All right, here we go. I got a live internet audience and then some music, and we gonna kick it. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Hello, everybody. It is time for Those Were the Days, the show where we look at classic TV through a modern lens and with nostalgic eyes. Boy, I'm going to get that right one of these days. This month, as you know, is all about Saturday morning cartoons. And this week, we're taking a look at Bobby's World, Season 1, Episode 2. So saddle up your tricycle, don your best high-pitched voice, and let's dive into Those Were the Days. That's right, y'all. It's that time. It's that time, joined as always by the wonderful Amy.
Oh, hey there. Oh, hi.
The infinitely curious Audie.
My name is Bobby.
And your fun uncle, Travis.
Hey there, Steve-O. How's it doing? How's it going?
It's going good. So Bobby's World, y'all. This was a trip for me in particular, as one of those shows that I did watch as a kid all the time. Like it was a I know we're in Saturday morning cartoons. By the time I was watching, it was like playing at 7 in the morning, maybe right before school. So I was always sitting down with a bowl of cereal to watch this before the day kicked off. My mom was always like making breakfast, which a lot of times was just a toaster strudel for me, and then I would go sit and eat that. And so this show was, I probably saw every episode a million times. But what I want to know is what your relationship to the show was, because I always look at it as kind of fringy in a way, because it's not one you talk about nowadays, but it's one that a lot of people have experience with. Amy, did you ever watch Bobby's World?
So I'm going to be honest with you. So the theme song started playing when I sat down to watch it, and my brain said, oh, it's time to change the channel. So I think this one, was not for me. I did look it up, right? So this one started in 1990. So I would have been 9, and I would have been a precocious 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would have been like, I don't know about this one.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely have memories of it existing, but I don't think I watched it very much.
No, that's totally fair. That's probably going to happen with us here and there. Is those little overlaps, like, you just missed me. I was just getting a little cooler than you. It's the way I'm going to interpret what you said. I was just a little cooler than everybody else.
Yeah, it's too cool.
Travis, how about you?
So I don't have a lot of memory of Bobby's World, and then I sat down to watch it, and the theme song started playing, and I'm like, I remember this opening. I remember watching the opening to this. I didn't watch a ton of episodes. Like I remember the mom and her wonderful Minnesota accent.
Oh, sure.
And that's about it. Like, it took me a minute to remember, oh, that's right, his dad is basically Howie Mandel. There is, Bobby is the like fourth wall breaking, constantly talking to the camera, like all that kind of stuff. So it was one of those where I definitely remember the show. I remember it being on, and I remember the intro, and that is pretty close to it. But I had a fun time with it. So
yeah, sure. Audie, how about you?
I'm right there with you, Steven. Like, I remember watching the heck out of this. I couldn't tell you much about it, but I know I watched the heck out of it. And I think specifically, I remembered the song in this episode.
Right.
And I think we talked about that last week when we were done streaming. But like, yeah, I definitely. And it's funny seeing it now and realizing this was my introduction to Howie Mandel when I didn't know who Howie Mandel was.
Yeah.
And like, I had forgotten that he did a little introduction at the beginning of the show and stuff.
Yeah.
And interacted with the cartoon Bobby. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And one weird little thing I picked up on. So the voice actor who does Uncle Ted does he was a voice actor for Mr. Grouper in the Bubble Guppies.
Oh,
And for the
nice.
longest time, I was like, that voice sounds familiar. Like something about Mr. Grouper's voice. I was just like, I know that voice. I couldn't think of where it could possibly. And then I looked it up after watching this. I was like, holy cow. Oh my gosh. That's why. So,
Yep. That one, it struck me so weird when Uncle Ted started talking because I'm like, this is familiar, like really, really familiar. It's because he sounds remarkably like John Candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so
He was-
much in the way he sounds. Yeah.
He was very much Uncle Buck
Sure.
Yes.
was Uncle Ted, and it was they were going for a John Candy sound
Yeah.
for sure.
And
But
funny,
that's just how he sounds, one of the two. But yeah.
right? And some trivia about that actor. His name is Tino Insana. Not his real name, but a stage name. He's got actually a really cool ethnic, like actual name. But because this is Hollywood, you have to change it to something. So anyway, Tino, the writers of the show wrote the character of Uncle Ted based on him as a person, and then when they went out to try to cast the part, he went out for it and he read for it and actually got it. So he's effectively playing himself, which I thought was a
Imagine
really cool
having
piece
to
of trivia.
audition to be yourself, though.
Yeah.
Oh, don't! I have a whole bit I can recite on this. I'm going to let it go for now. But trust me, I have something for that. No, it's funny. His IMDb page even has trademark. His voices include a voice similar to that of John Candy.
Yeah.
Yes,
There you
yes,
go.
they do.
I mean, there's something about that tone, that John Candy, Uncle Buck tone, that just makes you comfortable, and like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not a creepy guy. This is your jolly uncle that is not going to be weird, and it's fine to hang around and you go do cool camping trips with and stuff. Like they made it a friendly tone.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be weird, but like in a friendly, safe way.
Oh yeah, nobody
Mhm.
knows what he does. Like he's probably
No.
making all his money from gambling and horse tracks and stuff. Like that's probably
Well,
or
in this
taking dad's
episode-
card.
Yeah, or taking dad's charge card to
Mhm.
the
Oh, yeah.
Navy surplus.
And
Yeah.
we're gonna scan it with the thing.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was an old show. Things like this, you're gonna get reminded of it as we go through classic TV of how far we've
yeah.
come.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you started at the beginning of the show. We talked a little bit about how they set it up. Every single Bobby's World episode is set up with Howie Mandel in front of an animated background that ends up talking to Bobby. And the basic premise is he's a real person. He's going to go change into a cartoon real quick so he can
Yeah.
be Bobby's dad in the cartoons. And y'all, I don't know about you, but Howie Mandel looked like he may have snorted something before going on stage to do this
He
thing.
may have actually thought he was becoming a cartoon.
Yes. Yeah, it's called cocaine, Howie.
Yeah.
Because he was going 90 miles an hour. It's almost
Oh, yeah.
like he stepped onto the stage. They were like, "We need a show. Can you do something?" And he's just like, "Yeah, man, I got this. Let's rock and roll." Blah, 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 blah. He sounded like me at the beginning of an episode or something, just like ramble off the cuff. And he almost looked uncomfortable. There's almost like this discomfort of I'm gonna get through this as fast as possible so we can get to whatever show I'm making here.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think you think of him now and all the shows that he's on, and he's so comfortable
Yeah.
on stage and in front of the camera, and it's almost like he hadn't gotten to that yet here.
Yeah.
He had done stand up, but that's very different from kind of being on a green screen in a studio with a bunch of people watching you, and you've got no audience to play off of either. So I'm
Right.
And
sure
no-
that was a
no-
weird feeling.
No other actors to play off of.
Right, because you're doing the
Right.
voice of the other actor.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
doing the voice of the other character. So yeah, you're playing off
You got
yourself.
nothing. You're in a
Oof,
room.
that's
hard.
that's got to be weird.
Yeah. If anyone's ever been in a Zoom meeting and tossed out a joke and just stared at people to see who laughed, like that's basically what this is. I do that frequently. I'm like, am I even funny? And I have to make sure I see one person go, just quietly, just open their mouth. I was like, all right, I'm okay. I'm
Got
okay.
one.
Got one. That's all I need. Just one person. Look to the safe face in the crowd. It's acknowledging you.
Right.
Yeah, so this episode kicks off, and it's all about Uncle Ted taking Bobby on a camping trip into the distant area of the backyard.
Mhm.
Um, but like the things about this, that's a very simple story. That's a very simple idea. Another piece of trivia that I thought was really cool is that the writers came up with many of the Bobby's World stories based on their own childhoods, which really kind of makes it work for me because what better place to dig from than your own memories and how you felt when your uncle took you camping in the backyard and all the things that go through your mind. And there were parts of the show that I had completely forgotten that are like they're integral to the show. Like they are the show. But much like Audie, I don't remember this. Why this show doesn't have any mental staying power outside of the awareness of it, I don't really know. Because, like I said at the top of the show, I watched episode after episode after episode, and it did not occur to me that I did not remember Bobby imagining the things that the adults said, like coming
Yeah.
to life in a different
Mhm.
way. That was not a thing that stuck with me. Um,
Well, you've only got so much RAM up there. You've got to get rid
sure.
of some of that stuff
Yeah.
every once in a while. So, the childhood cartoons, some of them get pushed aside into the
That one's
trash
not
bin.
Bobby's World unlikely to come up on Jeopardy. Like you can probably let that one go.
You're probably
True.
right. You're probably right. But I did enjoy like that was one of the things that I got tickled about. There weren't that many places I laughed out loud in this cartoon. Like we talked about Garfield's and Friends, we've talked about Voltron, and those shows they're for kids, but there's some stuff in there just for me and you, as grown-ups. This particular Bobby's World episode did not have a lot of things that were there for adults to enjoy. They were definitely I'm gonna plop my kid in front of the TV with a bowl of cereal,
Yep.
and I'm gonna go vacuum
I
or
will
whatever.
say
Mhm.
their experience at the Army Navy surplus store was very similar to mine when I used to go back in college. It's like let's go, let's pack it up. I have a Swiss Army jacket, like a jacket from the Swiss Army
Mhm.
that I have never worn but purchased in college because
Yeah.
When I was watching this, it made me think a lot of Phineas and Ferb,
Hmm.
which
Mhm.
is a show that also very much expands on imagination and the kid's imagination. The main difference is that in Bobby's world, it's all inside his head. He's imagining
Mhm.
all of it,
Yeah.
and he goes into his dream states. Whereas Phineas and Ferb, it's like their imagination manifests reality.
it's
Um,
Amelia Bedelia too, in that
yes,
like very literal,
Hmm.
draw the drapes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Pulls out
Pitch a
pad
tent,
paper,
like actually throw it.
draws it. Yeah.
yeah. And I wonder if that's why maybe some of it doesn't quite stick, because it feels like the concept of this show has been done better
Hmm.
Hmm.
or in a more refined way, I think.
Sure.
Mhm.
Because there was nothing bad. I didn't
No.
not enjoy watching this at all, but it's not one that I'm gonna rush to go back to either, just because it got a little unfocused and a little too. It was clearly aimed at much younger kids,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but not quite to like your Dora the Explorer level, but it's like a half step up from that. The way
Yeah.
that he talks to the camera,
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. Very differently from the way that, like, say, Garfield would break the fourth wall, like
Sure.
we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, and I said it pre-stream, like this is such a stream of consciousness episode. There's no
Oh yeah,
like breakup as to what's happening between. Like I was like, okay, we're gonna do the camping thing, that'll be done, and then we'll get another story. No,
Nope.
this whole thing is the camping thing, and just different weird things happening.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the part in the Army surplus store was a lot of fun, and that was what I was gonna mention is that when says, "Can we get one of these?" He has a little remote control, and the massive tank comes rolling through. I was like,
yes,
"That is exactly how a kid would see that." I was like,
Yep.
"What is going on?" And then the
Mhm.
adults look at it, and it's these little tank RC cars, And
Yep.
I
Yeah.
really appreciated that at that moment. It finally locked in what we were doing. It always takes me a little while to figure out what the show I'm watching is really all about. And that was the moment I was like, okay, I'm in now. It's the kids' view of the world, and occasionally
Yeah.
you get to see the way the adults are seeing it to kind of break it up for you. But that was great. And then it was the scared of the dark stuff and everything that really
Mhm.
brought in the whole childhood aspect of sleeping in a tent. And I couldn't help but be proud of Uncle Ted in that when you're camping in the backyard, I mean, extension cords abound. You
Yeah,
know, I
that
Mhm.
is.
mean,
Boy,
how serious are we about to get here? Uh, so you go in the tent. Their tent is like the Doctor Who version of a tent. It's like super small on the outside. They walk in, it is this massive Harry Potter esque like 2,000
Mhm.
square foot
Mhm.
tent area. There, if you're standing upright in a tent, it's not a tent. You're in like a cabin. Like
yeah.
nobody was doing a hunch, nothing. And they've got a TV and a microwave and a refrigerator and all this stuff. I'm like, man, Uncle Ted knows how to do it right.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna go with Uncle Ted camping. That sounds like a great idea. And the whole thing in there, the thing that got me the most was the pizza. Out of all the
Yes.
things that they did, the pizza.
The
Uh,
pizza.
Cartoon pizza always looks pretty great when you see it in a cartoon, except when that cartoon's Bobby's World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I did not want that pizza.
no, like you watch Ninja Turtles, and
Oh yeah.
everybody
Every
wants
pizza.
the pizza on the
Mhm.
Ninja Turtles. Like the way they pull
Oh,
it
yeah.
up and the cheese, just you're like, I want to eat that. I'll never find a pizza that tastes as good as that looks. But Bobby and Uncle Ted decide to microwave like a 15-inch pizza. So
And then he pulls it out of the microwave or the toaster oven, whatever it is, and it's just like floppy.
yeah,
It like
Mhm.
folds in half as he's carrying it over, and ugh,
that
no,
w-
I didn't want any of that.
Okay, when I was at SCAD, I took a couple um, classes that were like storyboarding and stuff. And my professor was talking about how much in animation, so much is done overseas. You have to explain to them how things work. I don't think anybody explained to the animation team
Pizza.
how pizza works or
No.
how it's supposed to look.
the physics of pizza.
I feel like at some point somebody was like, "Wait, they microwaved it, so we can't show it on a pan.
Right.
So I guess it'll just be floppy."
Mhm.
Okay.
It was
No,
that, and the
nope.
cheese was like slightly greenish brown.
Green.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was
That was
that
messed
They
cheese
me
had
also didn't tell
turned.
them what it
He
looked
tried to
like.
cut it with a plastic knife.
the, plastic, the plastic knife actually fit for me because we have plastic knives for Sam for cutting stuff. And it looked exactly like Sam's plastic knife when he was
So
like
good.
4 or 5. That's what he used to cut
Yep.
food. And I'm like, oh, okay, this checks out. Dad's safety approval right there. Look, they're
Mhm.
telling kids not only don't put metal stuff in the microwave, but
Yep.
also use your plastic knife when you're cutting the pizza.
Yep.
Sure.
But then the thing that got me is when the cheese gets on everybody. And I'm like, you just pulled this out of the microwave. You're going to the
This is
hospital.
smoldering.
That is
Mhm.
napalm
Yeah.
flying all over that tent right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone
Yep.
who's ever bitten into a slice of pizza and like just pulled the cheese off and it slaps you in the chin, you know? That's all I can think of. I'm like, 3rd-degree burns. This poor kid. Uncle Ted, what have you done? You're ruining everything.
It's fine. I'm sure he's got a burn kit from the
Oh,
from
yeah.
the Army
Probably.
surplus
I'm sure he
store.
picked one up from the surplus store, and the guy working at the Army Navy surplus store that looked like a snake, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What was his
what
was
that
weird.
was.
His
That was an
mustache was
interesting character
hanging
design.
below his lip. Like
Yes,
his mustache,
it was.
he didn't have a lip. It was like nose,
No.
and then the mustache hairs were just going down into his mouth, which
It was
couldn't have been
very
comfortable. Yeah, that couldn't have been comfortable.
Heck of a bug zapper though.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
I love
thing
that that
was
was the thing.
robust.
That did take me back because we did have one in my backyard when I was a kid. And so the fun thing to do if you happen to get up early, right? Because all the bugs would be on the ground and then you watch the ants come and take all the dead bugs away. I learned a lot about nature.
That's yeah, entertaining
Nice.
is a word you can use
Yeah.
for whatever that is.
Yeah.
You're like, I used to sit on the front porch and watch the vultures eat the dead animals.
You know, we do what we gotta do, man.
You guys didn't do that. That
This is
wasn't
the 80s. What else were we gonna do?
Right, we didn't have the internet.
We had
Mhm.
windows of time that entertainment was provided for us, and outside of that, we had to do what we had to do.
You just watch vultures. Watch nature clean up itself. That's what you
Yeah.
do. Yeah, it's a good time. Nowadays we're like, hide the children, the vultures are out. Can't see them do that. I did write down, I was looking back at my notes, socks in a can. They had that
A
at the
great
army.
wedding gift.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I actually know someone who's getting married, and now I want to find socks in a can
Socks in a can.
just to give it to them. Because that sounds like a great idea. Anything you put in a can is really a
Mhm.
pass for me. I think I'll take it. Whatever. I'll, you know, or just take multiple cans of socks and just keep them in your drawer. Get a fresh one
Yeah.
every day. Right out of the can. Then so we get past they're camping. It's dark. They have to go on some adventure. I was on Sudafed and stuff, so bear with me. This is probably scrambled. But at some point, Bobby gets to thinking how awesome Uncle Ted is, and then has this imagination event of going to see Uncle Dad at
Yeah,
Uncle
what a
Dad's
good dad.
house.
He would make the best dad. And
Yeah,
then we're gonna
Mhm.
go to Uncle Dad's house,
yeah,
which
we're
it is his face is the door.
a really gross face that's like real life, and his tongue falls out. It makes like a flop sound. Like,
Yeah, and like sounds squishy when he
yeah,
walks over it
I'm
into
not
the. It
going
was
in there.
Mhm.
no.
Indeed.
But I took note of one thing in there that was in the background that you could have overlooked, and it was a
Yep.
poster of Garfield the cat, and it said "Kill the cat" on it.
Yep. I saw
Because
that.
yeah, I was like, wait a minute, what is this subliminal messaging? Like, is this a war? There's no information on why this sign exists, but it was in there. And then at that point, I had lost focus on whatever was going on. I'm like, why we're here? I know
We didn't.
Uncle
Yeah, we
Dad's
didn't
doing a
realize that
thing.
there was a gang war between
Yeah.
Bobby's World and Garfield. Jim Davis and Howie Mandel apparently just
I
at
guess.
loggerheads. Who knows?
Yeah. It was harsh though. It killed the cat, not even like
Yeah.
Yeah.
end it or whatever. Like straight up kill the cat. That was a lot for me to digest in that scene.
Well, and then they light the tent on fire somehow.
Yes. Yeah,
It
the
tent
catches
ends up-
fire.
Catching fire. That's what it was.
probably
Yeah,
the
'cause he-
87 extension cords.
Or
Well, yeah,
well,
for
so Uncle Ted sits on the marshmallows first,
Mhm.
and then they
Right.
toast them anyway, which is fine. Whatever, they've lost a lot of their marshmallow quality, but sure.
Sure.
And then he takes the marshmallow off the stick and just throws it. Is that how the tent caught on fire? Like, I don't what.
Probably.
No, because he
like,
grabs it again
don't-
and puts it back on his stick, unless it's another one. But that could be.
I'm
Yeah.
like, don't like. Why did you just toast that marshmallow if you were just gonna throw it? What are you doing?
I don't think Ted plans that far ahead.
Yeah, I don't
honestly.
think that
Plan
happened.
that
Yeah.
far ahead.
I don't
There
think
was a
Ted
line at
thinking,
one
no.
point where he talks about like it's unknowable, like aunt somebody's age, and so I want to know if that's like another sister, or if he is married. And either scenario is pretty good.
that is pretty
Mm.
great. Yeah.
Either scenario. is
Uncle Ted
quality.
just goes and stays at their house all the time because he just can't handle
just
being
gotta
married
get
at
out,
home. I just
you
gotta
know?
leave. I just gotta leave. He's too much fun, and she just puts a damper on it all the time. That's probably it. Ted, you're never serious. We have to pay the power bills. You're down at the track. You're either down at the track or you're over at your sister's house with your nephew. You know, there's a history there. We gotta figure out
yeah.
what that's all about. We did have another imagination event where Bobby finds his way to the. He's got to go get bed sheets and stuff, right?
Mhm.
And he
Yeah,
gets
because
to
they
that
put
little-
out the fire and they got to cover the holes with like bed sheets and then find something to sleep on.
Sure.
Because they
Yep.
incinerated everything
Yeah.
they purchased.
Right. Yeah. So now and this is all fine. You know, nobody's worried. Uncle Ted's just going to tell Bobby to go get some bed sheets. I'm Uncle Ted, and I'm having
Don't
fun.
even
I
worry about it.
refuse to let anything put a damper on our backyard camping. So he has this event where he's imagining they're like at this Wizard of Oz scenario, and the the scarecrow. What did the scarecrow get? Some kind of, was it the seal of approval that Scarecrow got or something? I can't
Oh, I'm
remember.
trying to
What was
remember.
the
Oh, man.
thing? I wrote 3 things down, but none of it makes any sense now that I'm looking back at it. So one person got a seal of approval, and it was like a literal seal that comes out, and I was like, that's the Amelia Bedelia thing with
Yep.
the kids. And then the Tin Man gets a bike made of his ex-wife.
Ex-wife, a girl's bike.
Yeah, girls.
Well, and his body was canned meat.
You're right. Yeah, it was a little bit
Yeah,
off
oh.
kilter. Everything was off kilter.
And then she's like, "Don't sit on my head."
Yeah.
And then he does.
That was very weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Very weird.
I was like, who made this joke? Here's this girl's bike. It's made of your ex-wife. Like, what show? What demographic are you after here?
I don't. That whole section confused me because that felt like we've talked a little bit about how old cartoons would try to sneak stuff past the censors
Sure.
Mm.
a lot, and that segment felt like it was trying to be that, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Again,
They thought they were hilarious, and it just wasn't that good.
oh yeah. And I mean, we started at the top of the show with Howie Mandel basically just rambling off stuff to get through the beginning, and then we expect some sort of well thought out joke system. I really would love to watch. I mean, this is episode 2 of the show, right? Season
Yeah.
1. This is episode 2. This show ran until 1997, the end of 1997 or beginning of 98. Either way, it had some legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bobby actually progresses in age as the show goes on. In this season, he's 4 years old. He eventually gets to 5, and then 6, I think, is the where they ended it. But I would love to see how much different the show got as everything moved on and you got better.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
this was awfully close to a pilot, but I picked this one for a very specific reason because it's one of the only things I remembered out of having watched this show a billion times. There's only one thing that seemed to stick in my mind with any level of stickiness, and that was the "Fish Don't Stink Underwater" song. Which happens because Bobby and Uncle Ted are sleeping in the tent, and somehow walking around this thing and eating pizza in this thing never saw the sprinkler heads inside
Which are
the
not
tent with them.
subtle.
No,
These are
No,
not
they're not.
subtle sprinkler heads. These are not pop-ups.
no.
These are old school.
These are like, I bought these from Lowe's for $6 and I shoved them in the ground. Sprinkler heads.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then just starts throwing water everywhere, which gave me flashbacks to a sleepover I had with a friend once where they tried to make me pee my pants. And so I remember sleeping and waking up, and they had my hand in a cup of water, and I
Uh-huh.
like moved, and it spilled all over me, and they ran off giggling, and I had to spend the rest of the night soaking wet trying to sleep. And I almost walked home at like 2 in the morning because it was just that. It was that. That was a bad experience. So I'm watching Bobby get drenched by a sprinkler. I'm like, oh, he's not going to stay asleep for that. This is the worst
Mm.
night ever.
Oh no, he did not. He not only did he stay asleep, he just like pulls the blanket over his head and turns over, and I'm like, pretty sure that's not how that works.
I'm pretty sure they wrote this whole episode just to get to this musical number after
Yeah.
watching
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I feel like
It's
they
definitely
wrote
the
because-
song was written and then they reverse
Yes.
engineered a scenario to get there. Because and because like getting hit with a sprinkler does not make me think about being underwater and a fish.
No.
No.
I would think about
Nope.
being like rained
Rain?
on or something.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
So
not Bobby.
no.
No.
So Bobby dreams of a musical number, which I learned was meant to be a riff of "Under the Sea" from The Little Mermaid.
Of
Yeah.
course.
This one was "Fish don't stink underwater. Underwater, the fish don't stink." Which, man, I don't have it queued up, and I should for just a little slice of this pie. But it's a jam. Like, I mean, it's not
it's a
just
catchy tune.
yeah, it's right up there with the Greatest American Hero theme song in my TV show music. Yeah, see, Adi, you know, we can disagree. We can agree to disagree.
I mean, I'll say I still remembered it. you
Yeah.
know? We talked about it. Underwater, the fish don't stink.
And it has
Like
what-
as soon as you said Bobby's World was your pick, that was the first thing that came in my mind.
right? Yeah. That's anytime I think of the show, I think of fish don't stink under. You know, I just get it in my head. I had the melody completely wrong in my head canon, but after watching it again, I'm like, oh dang, this is better than what I had stuck in my head. Like this is a better version of that. it was great. The only part where the whole song falls apart for me is where we have to make the mistake of rapping,
Mhm.
and
Well, it was
the
1990, right?
oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Like,
MC
that's
Hammer,
what you
Criss
did.
Cross, Run
Yep.
DMC. It was the whole jam, and then white people started doing it, and it just got worse. But Bobby does it in Bobby's voice, and probably the beat just non-existent in his head. I'm like, this, you're not even going with it. It's like somebody go and you're just like off in some other tempo. It was not working. But, they bring it back. They bring it back with a little guitar and a little more Fish Don't Stink. And then you got it. And that was the main reason I picked this episode, because
It
that's
was the
the one thing
line.
I remembered.
It was the line about how bad the dog's breath is, especially now that he's getting older. And I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Mhm.
Poor Roger. Which,
Oh,
by the
yeah.
way, is a great name for a dog.
That's a
Roger.
good
really
name for a
is.
dog.
It really is. They knocked that out of the park for sure. I didn't even mention, speaking of names, that this whole family's last name is Generic. So Bobby
Oh, that
Bobby
running
Generic.
Yeah.
This is really great. I appreciated that a lot.
Like
So
that was a running joke in this show that I remember as a kid getting.
oh yeah.
You know, they'd all say generic, and it's like, no, it's generic.
Yes, that's right. It was they pronounced it differently. I do remember that it was always a thing. After I read it, I was like, that sounds familiar, but it was because they added it was pronounced different to them.
Mhm.
That does feel like a Howie Mandel joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Very
for sure.
much.
This
So,
show was largely created because the Fox executives didn't think stand up could be family friendly or something like that. There was a whole time where they just didn't, stand ups were dirty, all the stand ups everywhere are dirty. And so they made this show to make a stand up comedian popular with younger kids, and that make something like that work. I'm like, well, Gallagher's not dirty. You could squash a watermelon. He was on Muppet Babies,
yeah, it's true.
which almost was a show I picked because I loved Muppet Babies too. But I couldn't remember if that was a Saturday morning cartoon or not.
Oh, that
Um,
definitely was. I remember
Oh, yeah.
watching that on Saturday
Yeah,
mornings.
it was a good show. The new one's good too. If you haven't watched it, it's pretty great stuff. Summer the Penguin, awesome addition to the Muppet Babies.
Agreed.
But anyway, so they finish this night. Is they can't camp out anymore. The sprinkler's gone off, but Uncle Ted doesn't give up, man.
No.
No, he doesn't.
Like
No.
by now, I would have hung it up and said, "Dude, we're going inside. Like I'm gonna put you in your bed. I'm going to my bed. Actually,
He
I'm gonna
even
go
says,
home."
Bobby says at one point, like, hey, I think it's right after the fire. Like,
Mhm.
hey, if you want to go inside, like, it's okay.
Yeah, we can quit.
Which is a thing I would say when I wanted to go inside.
Yep.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's just code for I'm done with this.
I'm
Can
done.
we go
I'm
inside?
done with this whole
Yeah.
thing.
but I'm also stubborn and don't want you to think I'm giving up. So I'm gonna let you give up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
I'll just go along with you. But this is where things this is where it does its Full House ending. You get Uncle Ted.
Mhm.
He's like, we're gonna figure this out. They go to the front yard on the driveway,
Mhm,
and put
comfy.
like ladders up and string a rudimentary tent,
Mhm.
across
Mhm.
the thing. 'Cause they've got nothing else left. And this is where it gets heartfelt to me. I appreciated this. The brother comes out and decides to share. It gives Bobby, I can't remember what it was. It was some item that he had.
Old sleeping bag.
Old sleeping
Old
bag,
sleeping
yeah.
bag, yeah, because he was not going to camp out with them. Like, that's lame and all this stuff. And Bobby says, when older brothers want to share, it means they're missing out on the fun. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's good wisdom, Bobby. When someone decides to join in with you, or at least like give you something, it means they wish they were there, but they had pitched so much of a fit that they can't
Yep.
relent,
Yeah.
and it's over. And the sister comes out, and then they all sit under their tent singing some weird version of Kumbaya.
Mhm.
That was terrible. With the mom rambling extra stuff in the middle
In the middle.
of the
Yeah.
song.
So good.
That
They
was
were all off key. They were all off tempo. It was
Mhm.
it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a cacophony of sound.
but it was real, right? Like you can
Yes.
see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. It
Yeah.
100% felt like when my family would try to do that.
Yeah. My family never tried to do that. We were too smart.
We didn't very much for that reason.
Right. But Wisconsin Mom, it really fit that she was like, oh, let me talk about this while I'm getting through this next line of the song. It's just that's her character. It always was through the whole show. And I hate we didn't get more of her in this because she was such a highlight when I was a kid. Because I remember I told my mom that we were watching Bobby's World for the show. And she's like, oh, I remember you watching Bobby's World, gee golly. Like all that stuff. Because she remembered the mom. Don't you know?
Those,
She used to get a kick
those
out of
gee
that.
golly ideas.
Those G golly
That's
ideas.
right. Yeah, putting those G, and then Bobby's thinking, "Gee golly, ideas," and then shoving them into his head. I love that. I told my mom about the show, and I had when I was a kid, she was thinking about this. I had a poster of Bobby that had Bobby sticking his finger up his nose, and the poster said, "I'm not picking my nose. I'm pointing at my brain." And I had that poster for probably 5 years, and it would sticky tack onto the wall, and sticky tack get rolled up, moved to the next house, sticky tack back on the wall. Sticky tack, for those who are unaware, was the #1 poster sticking material because it didn't put holes in the wall. Your mom wouldn't yell at you. It's the best stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. You needed it. But that brings us to the end of Bobby's World and more Howie Mandel shenanigans at the end of the show. And joking about sitting on marshmallows, it then turns around with a frisbee-sized, like, not even remotely marshmallow-like thing stuck to
No.
his butt.
No, but I appreciated that joke.
Yeah, I could
The
definitely
joke was well placed, even if that was the largest marshmallow ever conceived by man.
I would eat that. If it was not set on, it would be in my mouth. I could make that happen. Like a pie. It's like a pie of a marshmallow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bobby's World. We watched it. We got I'm fondly remember it. It's one of those shows, like if I'm gonna break it down, it's gonna have to stay back in 7 to 8 year old Steven's
Yep.
history. And I don't know what causes a show, in your guys' opinion, to be a show that's revisitable and one that isn't. Like, is there a certain aspect of them that's what pushes it over the edge to, like, I'm gonna leave that?
Well, I feel like with this show, you being about 7 or 8 when you watched it feels like the perfect time to be watching this show because it's not your Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer type show where it's aimed at 3 to 6 year olds, but it's not quite the show that would be aimed for kind of 10, 11, 12 and sort of coming out of cartoons in a lot of ways, at least back then. So it kind of makes sense. It sort of hit you in the sweet spot, but it doesn't age as well because I don't feel like the humor was timeless, like the types of jokes that they would use because you look at a lot of if it wasn't problematic humor in something like a Warner Brothers cartoon, they're jokes that still make you laugh as an adult. And like you said, there weren't really any moments in this that you were laughing out loud. I didn't find myself laughing out loud very often. There was a couple times where I was like, it's clever. That was cute.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what it is for me. Like if it's something I can watch now, like Garfield had moments where I laughed out loud and I was like, and I genuinely thought it was well-written humor. This didn't quite hit that point for me. So I kind of can see why I would agree with you. It sort of needs to stay where it was.
Sure.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, part of me wants to see what it turned into down the line and see if it got better. Because like you said, this is episode 2, practically, the pilot. So, like we said, there wasn't a whole lot to really go with here. There wasn't a whole lot of meaty jokes. Like the one thing that got me that I thought was the most hilarious thing in the episode was when Uncle Ted talked about the pioneers and then Bobby saw a wagon with, little horses and then 2 ears and a pie driving it.
They must have really big Q-tips.
And I was like, okay.
Which I mean,
That's clever.
that
That was the
does sound
one
like
thing.
that's like a
And
thing
it was a throwaway joke. Like it was there for like 2 seconds compared to underwater, the fish don't stink.
Sure.
That part made me so mad. Underwater, the fish don't stink. I could hear 9-year-old me going, "That's just not." But but that's not. And so this led me to find out today that star-nosed moles can smell underwater.
Yeah, but they're
thought
like
that was a weird fact.
they're basically mutant alien creatures. Like
They
that.
This is
definitely
true.
are. They are upsetting.
Yeah, they fell to Earth from a meteor and just managed to survive here. They're not native.
No. But yeah, no, and I think that that's like, it certainly wasn't as quote unquote bad as I was expecting it to be from hearing 9-year-old me and my voice going, "We gotta change the channel, change it now," because we got to change it before my little sister like digs in. Because
Oh yeah.
Oh
if
yeah.
she digs in, then
Mhm.
we're gonna have to like, I can't change it because she'll
It's
yell
gonna
and
be
then
a
mom will
fight.
get mad, and then I'm just gonna have to watch this.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
so it was definitely better than I was expecting it to be. Howie was real awkward though. The 3D thing was, I couldn't decide if it was funny or not. Like I just,
Same.
it
Yeah.
came back twice. It's the like, we did this episode in 3D, but I'm guessing they forgot to send you glasses. So just every now and then just like run up to the screen, so it's like we're coming at you. And which granted, that's how a lot of 3D movies seem to want to be. They're like, "Whoa, coming at you!"
Yeah.
Like, there's no need. There,
Mhm.
Yeah.
there's no need for any of that. And so, like, and they brought it up at the end too, and I still couldn't decide if I thought it was funny or not.
It's definitely like Howie was embodying everyone's dad with that joke. Like,
Yes.
hey, like, hey, look, I'm coming at you. This is 3D.
Whoa.
And you're like, it's kind of funny, but kind of stupid. And I don't
Yeah.
know where it's landing. So I'm just going to smile
Mhm.
because I got nothing
Pretty much.
else.
Wait for it to end. It's
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait for
Not
this.
to mention, we're in a totally different space when it comes to 3D. Like just that whole terminology. Like
Yeah.
back then, it was you got blue and red glasses, and that's how you
Yeah.
saw it. You
Yeah.
know,
There was the
and
Pepsi
like,
commercial during the Super Bowl that one year,
mhm.
and you had to buy Pepsi to get the 3D glasses.
It
Oh, yeah.
worked.
And now
I-
for us, 3D is maybe dying off, maybe coming back. Who knows? Let's see what James Cameron tries to push on us with the new Avatar movies.
Yeah.
Don't take me there, Audie. I can't handle it.
Oh, I'm not going.
I was.
I'm
I
saying
did
it's a
like-
thing. I'm not saying it's a thing I care for. I'm saying it's a thing.
Yeah.
There are some people that absolutely love it, and more power to
So,
them.
no,
but
those
I
people
can't.
are wrong. There's a theater up the street from me that has two different forms of interactive movie watching. You can go 4DX, which puts you in a
Right.
motion chair. Stupid. Or there's Screen X, which is a 270-degree view, which probably also looks like crap. And I'm not going to spend $20 to find out if it looks like crap. I'm just going to go to the straight IMAX or the other big format
Right.
theaters and enjoy those. I don't need James Cameron's fancy pants. You're in the movie now. I don't want to be in the movie. I want to be in my chair.
I'm
with my
in the
popcorn.
movie that's slightly grayed out because you've got to give me something to do the 3D effect, and it's never clear.
It's always blurry.
I will say, on the subject of 3D, Avatar was one of the few movies where the 3D effect, because they built it from the ground up, actually worked and didn't feel overly gimmicky. But like Beowulf was definitely.
I was just
super
gonna say
gimmicky.
I think the one and only 3D movie. No, I saw V for Vendetta in 3D also.
Oh, jeez.
They throw
It
knives
was
at
a
you.
heck of a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Beowulf. That's the one I was think of because it was the spears just like whoa going at
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming at you. Like, just let the 3D be 3D. You don't have to throw stuff at me. You don't have to chuck me through a portal. You just be. Just stop making it a gimmick. And there for a time when it was fading out, there's still movies where you could tell like there's a 3D part. That's the part where they want me to
you. Yep.
feel like I'm riding it. Like I don't want to ride it. I want to watch the movie. Just quit screwing with it. Just make the sound better, make the visuals cleaner, and let's just go. Don't
Yep.
play with this. I can't handle it. But boy, man, we went off on a tangent. 3D really triggered.
So,
so-
the
oh, go ahead.
transition between the pre-opening and the actual show was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because Bobby's in his little tent and it starts to shake like there's an earthquake.
Mhm.
And then we get through the opening and we find out there's Uncle Ted shaking the tent. And he goes, "Oh, is an earthquake drill. Good work. You didn't panic."
Yeah.
And Bobby goes, I definitely thought I was panicking, and I was like, okay, okay,
Mhm.
yes,
And
yes,
and to that point, I think I agree with you where I want to see what the show became because there are seeds of some good jokes. The
yeah,
pioneers joke
Hmm.
is good because you think about it as a kid, as a 4-year-old, he hears the pioneers. That's a great like mind of a kid
Mhm.
joke.
yeah.
So it's pie and ears.
I
You
can tell
wouldn't know
you,
what
as
that
one
word is.
with little kids learning words, that kind of stuff definitely happens. So,
So yeah, I'd like to see that. I do want to highlight real quick because I was looking at the total cast list of the show over the course of 81 episodes were made
Mhm.
between 1990 and 1998. And boy, they got some cream of the crop voice actors in here. I mean, you had your Howie Mandel, um, Tino, as we mentioned, but Frank Welker did
Hmm.
Roger. And I mean,
mhm.
if you're doing animation and there are animal sounds, you're calling Frank Welker,
You really
or
are.
it's either him or D. Bradley Baker. Like those are who you're
Yeah.
calling to make any animal noises. But you got Pat Fraley, who was Krang. So
Oh yeah.
you had
Mhm.
Krang at one point in the series. Rob Paulson was in here. Um, who else? Maurice LaMarche, Dan Castellaneta,
Wow.
Jim Cummings. So they got a lot of people.
Yeah.
Charlie Adler did a couple episodes.
Mhm.
Nancy Cartwright. Uh, Dave Thomas actually was in 3 episodes.
Oh wow. Not the Wendy's Dave Thomas for those playing
No, no,
along
no.
at home.
Nope, the other one.
Truly.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried was in 2
Oh
episodes
wow.
as the karate sensei.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Fabio,
All right.
Fabio, as Fabio.
Wow. So
So
That's
yeah, just
important.
wanted to mention a few of those.
Mhm.
this show had it was in a moment. It was a cultural thing
Yeah.
for that many people to have showed up.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like the Muppets in a way. I'm not going to put it on the same level as the Muppets, so excuse me for the analogy. But you know what I mean. Like when stars show up at a thing, it gives it credibility. Like when people that
Sure.
you know show up in a thing,
Yeah.
even if it's a paycheck. I mean, I'm sure that didn't hurt. Like Rob Paulson, we'll pay you to be in this. Oh, sure. Jim Cummings, you're doing Aladdin and you're doing an episode of Bobby's World. Yeah, it is good. Sounds good.
I mean, it's an
Get some extra
afternoon,
money.
right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's like, okay, sure.
That's how you get to be Jim Cummings and have 580 something credits to your
Yeah.
name. Like
Oh yeah.
because you can just show up for an hour to record a few lines for a single episode of a show, and there you go.
But you can hear Jim Cummings all the time. Like he doesn't exactly disappear into his characters. Like you're like, that's definitely Jim Cummings. Is that Jim Cummings as
True.
as PJ? Wait, no. What's the dog that lives next door to Goofy? It's not
Pete.
PJ, right? Pete. PJ was Pete's kid.
Yes.
Hang out with Max. It was Pete. Yeah, so he's totally
Yep.
Pete. And Winnie the Pooh's probably the most non Jim Cummings voice. Everything else
Mhm.
is definitely him growling at someone, being him. Anyway, yeah, cool. That was good, Travis. You've kind of become the actor historian on the show because you always look this stuff up and then you know them, which I find to be very
Yeah,
impressive.
it's a weird superpower I have.
I mean, if you
I'm
gotta have
able
one,
to focus and use for good, I guess, or at least not evil. So
right on. Well, that's about all I had in terms of Bobby's World. I tried digging deep, but there really wasn't a lot of info to find. Wikipedia is quite sparse. The only remaining tidbit that I have is that Howie Mandel came up with Bobby's voice while choking on a piece of cake. Uh, that's the story that they give. That's the voice that came out while he was choking, and that's the one that he got. And I don't know.
I was choking. Let me see if I can replicate this and make money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And this too, I don't think this came after Gremlins because he did the voice of Gizmo
Gizmo. Yeah.
in Gremlins, which I only found out about that recently, and I was a big Gizmo Gremlins fan as a kid because in the 80s they marketed
Yeah,
all
we
the
were,
horrifying stuff to children. I'm
Mhm.
surprised there weren't Trimmers dolls at the store. Like, oh, what you get for Christmas? A stuffed graboid? Like, you shouldn't watch
Yeah, that wasn't
movie.
big enough yet.
Not
I
yet.
mean, you say that, but there might have been.
I probably could have
Mhm.
been, yeah. But I totally had a Gizmo as a kid, and now apparently they go for lots of money if you have a working Gizmo doll from the 80s.
I believe that.
I didn't.
Mhm.
I got rid of mine. It's probably not that long ago, really. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. So that's probably the voice he figured out for Gizmo, and then brought it over to Bobby's World. Which brings us to the feedback section of the show. I think, Travis, did we get any mail on the old?
We did not get any mail. No
No
emails
mail.
this week. However, on Twitter, we got a response from Matthew Sargent at MB Sargent, said Bobby's World was a great show. So one fan there, and also Ryan Cook at Cook the Ryan on Twitter. How many kids had the "It's not a booger, I'm pointing at my brain" poster? Also,
What
Howie
did I
Mandel.
say?
So there were at least 2 of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a friend that said Christy Plays Drums 1 on Twitter, said Bobby's World was my favorite when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, really? Why? And she's like, I don't know that I can quite put my finger on it. It was just comforting. I just always loved the animation and thought Bobby was so cute riding around on his little bike.
So Ryan and I apparently both had that poster, which is yet another thing that makes us very similar. Because he's a buddy of mine. And it's the comforting aspect, or I just remember the show. That seems to be a through line that we've got here. I just remember it. I don't know why I liked it. It was just enjoyable, and maybe that's all we can ask of our shows, particularly ones we look back at. Maybe it's enough to just go, I don't know why I liked it, I just did. And that just be the end of it. But we got way too many more episodes of this show to do for that to be the end of it. We're not here to be comfortable with just maybe that's why I liked it. We're here to find out what the guts of it are. But I think we have mined the depths of Howie Mandel's brain long enough, and I hope if you're out there and you enjoyed it, that you got some joy out of listening to us talk about it. Because I know I enjoyed looking back at it, if for nothing else, just to remember that was a nice slice of life there from back in the day. But this is not the end of Those Were the Days, the show, because next week we're closing off Saturday morning cartoons with Amy. Amy, what you got for us?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, this is a big one. We're doing Inspector Gadget.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So we're doing season 1, episode 17, The Infiltration. The way I picked this was I found a list of all of the best rated Inspector Gadget episodes, and this was the highest rated that was readily available for free.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing.
Perfect.
Yeah, pretty excited about this.
That show was everything when I was a kid. I'm
Aw.
really excited to watch this
I
one.
still say like go Gadget, whatever,
Oh yeah.
at any given moment.
I've got to remember next week a story about a wrestler I watched once that was Inspector Gadget themed, and I'm going to try to remember to tell that. So come back next week.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was
Write it
good
down.
stuff. I know
You better write that down now.
I'm gonna write it down because it was pretty great. So Inspector Gadget next week. That link to that show for you to watch it will be available in the show notes of this episode. So wherever you downloaded it from or wherever you listened it to, we'll put the link in there. Maybe we should start sharing links out in the Twitter feed for where to go watch a show. That would probably be helpful.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good idea to do.
Yeah, get on that, Travis. Write that down.
I will. I will. Yes, sir.
Social media manager, Travis.
By the way, that Twitter is at Those Days Show on Twitter. You can hit us there, and also we do post out, what we're going to be watching. I will add links to where you can find it. Any polls that we do when we're deciding new topics, which you helped us do with special guest stars, are put up on there as well. And I have been adding a few things to a Those Were the Days Show TikTok account as well.
Nice.
So you can check out some little clips and things there, and I'm working on finding more things to add to that feed.
Perfect. You are a good social media manager, Travis. Well
I try.
Awesome. So yeah, tune in next week for Inspector Gadget, our last episode in our Saturday morning cartoons theme, where we move on to special guest stars, where and I'm sure you guys are all agonizing over which episode to pick, because there are a lot of good special guest star episodes of classic TV. So it's going to be a good old time. But for now, make sure you email us over at those were the days show at gmail.com, at those days show on Twitter. And we'll see you all next time on Those Were the Days.
Bye.
All right. That's a done deal.